Richard Petty. You know the name, now get to know the person. Brought to you by Petty versus Pearson, the rivalry that shaped NASCAR. Available now from your local retail store and barnesandnoble.com. You mentioned the fact that you don't feel pressure. What's pressure? What is it in your makeup that causes you to feel that way? Is that something that you developed over time? Is that something you've always had?
I guess I've had it all along. It's one of the deals where fate is, you don't overcome fate. Things are going to happen whether you do things or not. You do what you think is right. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And when it's over with, you got to forget about it. You know, if I went back in my life right now and changed one thing, I wouldn't be sitting here. Look at all the people. In other words, if I went back and won another race or run second in a race, then that would change everybody else's life too. Think about it. You know what I mean? So when people say, you know, if you had your life to live over, what would you do different? I wouldn't do anything different. Things, I've made a bunch of mistakes, don't get me wrong. But if I'd have corrected those mistakes at that time, I'd be in a different position now. People around me would be in different positions. So fate's a funny thing, man. You just go with it, and if you have a bad day, so what? I mean, just like this past week, we broke something that nobody's ever broken in a race car, okay? What can you do about it? You can't say, well, it's my fault, your fault, whoever built it's fault. It just happens. So you say, okay, just mark that off. Okay, now we're getting ready to go to Richmond. Okay, you know, forget Martinsville. We had a bad day. We just mark it off and go on down the line.
I'm trying to figure out a way to properly phrase this question, but
go for it.
Wherever you go, you are recognized. I don't have any doubt about that whatsoever. Do you ever go out in public incognito, without your hat, without your sunglasses, so you won't be recognized, or do you just say, "To heck with it, I'm going to stay at home today"?
Yeah, you know, I guess both ways. Every once in a while, you like to just get away from who you are, whether that's good or bad. But most of the time, you just go do your thing. From the standpoint that, you know, people look at me one way or the other, good, bad, or indifferent. And you are what you are, and you need to stay there. In other words, I was born in this house up here. I've been all over the world. Racing's given me that opportunity, you know, to go with a bunch of presidents, been, you know, every country, every continent, just because of racing part of it. But when you look for Richard Petty, you just come to Level Cross, North Carolina, and he's still there. And, you know, I guess one of the things I learned is never get above your racing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I never tried to go, you know, build a big mansion in Idaho or New York or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. That's just not me. I was born here, hope to stay here for a long time after this.
Junior Johnson, when he moved out of Wilkes County, he had a home there in Yadkin County near where I live.
Right.
And he could actually go into a couple of the little diners around there and nobody would bother him. Do you have places like that around here?
Anywhere around here.
Okay.
If I go to Randleman, you mean I go to a restaurant or eating place down there, or go to a football game, all that, you just win the crowd because you're like them trees out there. You're just another one. You know what I mean? There's nothing. You've been here so long, you're part of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And nobody pays, well, they pay attention to you, but you're nothing special.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just one of the guys. You go to church together, you go to ball games together, you went to school together, you know. So, again, he's just a neighbor. He lives down the road, and that's it.
You were talking before we started recording about going to a ball game Friday night. Are you able to go and be grandpa and watch your grandson play and have nobody really bother you?
Yeah, you know, people come up and talk to you a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah, you go again. You're just part of the woodwork. You're supposed to be there, I guess. I mean, if you got a grandson playing, or you know, a kid playing when Same thing when Kyle used to go play ball. You'd go to the ball game, and even when you went to ball games that wasn't at Roundman, I mean, if you went to another stadium or stuff, you was always with your people, because the visitors always sat on the back stretch, okay?
Yeah.
And all those people knew me. They'd seen me the week before when we was in Roundman. So you still stayed with your little crowd.
Speaking of Kyle, if memory serves me correct, wasn't he offered a scholarship in basketball somewhere? I thought he was. Somebody paid attention to him. Georgia?
Yeah, football.
Football?
Yeah, he was quarterback football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was basketball.
And I think he went to. I think he went to Georgia Tech. I think he went to Carolina. Just looking around and seeing all that. And one of the last ball games he played, the play was really over. He was quarterback. He threw the ball, and this guy hit him blindside and messed his knee up. Okay, and it didn't mess it up. That it didn't work, but it all swelled up and it got all messed up. He said, "Man, I can get hurt playing football."
So naturally, it starts driving a race car.
But really, I think that in his mind clicked. Up to that time, he wanted to go play ball, but just that one incident changed his whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean, and we all have it. Sometimes we don't know where it's at. But when I look back at his life and the way I see him, that's where I see where he changed and said, "Okay, I ain't gonna do this. I can get hurt playing this.
Right.
I'll go mess with race cars."
What's a typical day away from the track and not having to do any pain in the butt podcast? What's that like for Rich Petty? What kind of a day is that?
Every day's different.
Yeah.
I mean, you got certain things you do. I come in every day, read all the mail, do all the deal, sign autographs that's sent in, and then you always getting a call. Somebody wants to talk to you. You want to go anyway. Things have really slowed down as far as me going and doing personal appearances and stuff like that because of the disease deal. And so from 2 years ago, that life's changed, but it's still just as busy. You're not doing this anymore. You're doing this, so you're still tied up all the time. They still, somebody comes out of the wall, and then we got the garage here. We do a lot of PR and stuff for it. We do some commercials and stuff. We got the museum over there. Then we got the RPM. We got our foundation. We still work a bunch with the camp, and so that's a
Yeah.
So you stay pretty busy just checking with each thing that's
Right.
going on.
That's a place. Yeah.
You've been pulled in a lot of different directions for a long time. How much is too much when it comes to that kind of thing?
I don't know. You know what I mean? I really don't know. I know, when I quit driving, I said, okay, I'm not going to go over to the cabin, get in a rocking chair and start rocking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might last for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to know, where's the next race? What's going on? So I don't know that I planned some of my life, but a bunch of my life is reaction. Okay? You know what I mean? And we all do the same thing. We wind up wanting to do stuff, but we react to the environment around us, what's been asked for us. I mean, you get up of a morning and you say, okay, now I think I'll go mow my yard. Okay, you get up, get ready to go. It's raining. Your whole day is different. Okay? Or you're sitting eating lunch or something, somebody makes a telephone call. Everything changes from what you thought you was going to do that day. So our life, no matter how much we think we control it, is circumstances beyond our control. We just react a lot more than we really act, no matter what. I mean, just like we was waiting on him to come, right? So we had to react to that. Otherwise, he's supposed to be here at 1 o'clock, and we're going to get this done.
I ain't going to hear the end
At
of this.
1:30, he comes wandering in.
What was the COVID-19 quarantine like for you personally? That was the first time since you were maybe 10, 12 years old that you weren't going to the racetrack.
That was the big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the rest of the stuff, as far as coming to the shop and all that stuff, doing what I was doing at home, all that stuff kept working. The deal is it stopped all the racing activities. Okay, it cut out all my appearances that we had set for the year. All the commitments that I had to start with a blank sheet of paper, and not getting to go to the races was tough. Okay, I mean, I've been to a couple of races, but they got us in a bubble. I can't go just wandering around talking to people. If you go here, you got to stay there. You go here, you got to stay there, and so it's just different, and you learn to adapt to whatever the circumstances are.
I had a twofold question. Number one, do you have access to Netflix? And do you ever watch anything on Netflix? If so,
Netflix, that's on TV.
the answer is no.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Do you really?
Oh,
Yes, I do.
Good for you.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I watched a couple of shows last night. So I'm on the comedies now. I'm watching movies.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got hung up on some of those deals that lasted for 10 or 12 or 15.
Yeah, did you binge watch any of them?
Man. And you said, what's going to happen? And,
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and I'd watch one program and I think I'll stay and watch another one. And the first thing you know,
I'm
you're
the
going to sit
same
down.
way.
and
Richard
watch.
Petty binge watches
And he's gonna
Netflix.
watch-
That is
You're
awesome.
just going to watch one, you watch the second one. Okay. And I always like the programs that's got a complete story for the whole year,
Yeah.
but it's got a story for each segment.
Yeah.
Instead of just going from one segment to another and having to wait for something to happen. They got two stories in one. You got a long time. They're looking after a crook or something. Takes them all, 12 episodes to get to that. But they're catching somebody else every program, and I like that kind of stuff.
That's pretty good.
Netflix is missing the mark. They need to have a Richard Petty recommends. What would you recommend? What's one of the shows that you watch that you really enjoy?
I'm big on cowboys. Okay.
Okay.
I love cowboy movies.
That is awesome. Anything else?
Yeah, but I just dying to know this for myself. We had a talk a long time ago at a racetrack, and you told me about your daughters buying you like this audiobook or audio book type of thing. Anyway.
Audiobook. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had a name for it, and I forgot. Anyway, Richard laughed and looked at me and said, "I don't even know how to turn it on." Now here we are at 2021. Can you use a computer?
Nope. I don't even carry a telephone.
You're kidding me.
Okay.
Do you not?
I got a computer at the house, but I don't even. The only thing I know is to plug it in. I don't even know how to turn it on after I plug it in, and I'm not interested in learning. I mean, I'm fortunate that I've got 3 daughters.
You got help.
Yeah, I got secretary that looks after things. I got a lady that looks after the house and makes sure I got all my medicines and all that. So I got 6 or 7 people looking after me. So what the heck? I mean, a couple times what happened is when I go somewhere and stuff, the daughters will. I mean, I got one lives in Richmond and a couple of them work here, and Daddy's doing this. He's going over to RPM today, and whatever it is, and they've lost me a couple of times because I hadn't had a telephone. And I'll tell you a deal on the telephone. So they said, okay, the girls said, Daddy travels a lot by himself. He needs a telephone, in case something happens on the road. Okay, so they get me a telephone, right? Okay, put it in the car. They get it all set up. I know which button to push to get it to work. So one of my oldest granddaughters was having a baby. So I said, okay, I'm going to call her mother. No answer. Call her aunt. No answer. So I finally called the girl that's having the baby. She answers. Okay. Then when I get back, I asked my daughters, I said, why didn't you answer the phone? We didn't recognize the number. I rolled the window down, out went the telephone. That's it. Okay. I mean, why have a telephone if people ain't going to answer the cotton picker thing? Okay, that's it.